Welcome to Maths Space. We shall continue our learning in JavaScript. Today we're gonna see how to write JavaScript and how you're gonna test the JavaScript in standalone mode as well as like a part of HTML. I can call it as a my first JavaScript is what we would be covering in today's learning. Okay, let's get started. We are very happy and most exciting to inform you all my happy learners and first time visitors. Our math space knowledge corpus is get growing day by day. Please do visit us our YouTube channel Mathspace www.youtube.com at Mathspace. Sure thing is some takeaway as far as knowledge concern. Okay. Please do subscribe the channel and support us. Please drop a message. We'll get back. In this session, we're gonna see Visual Studio Code IDE, which we have been using. We will recap one more time and try write first sample JavaScript and check if environment is set it up for running the JavaScript, that is Node.js. Node.js is basically like a runtime JS environment. So we have to check if it is installed. If not, we have to install it and making sure your environment is ready so that it let you install the JavaScript. Execute the JavaScript. Okay. So how do you test it? Test the basic Node.js console log messages to start with. Then execute the JavaScript, whatever the sample script that you created, which we can execute as in a standalone mode. Later, let's try integrate the JavaScript as part of HTML and then load the HTML page on the web browser and then see whether JavaScript gets executed or not. Okay, that's what we can call it as a test JavaScript in web browser. So these are all things that we're gonna cover in this session. As part of our web development, we use an IDE called Visual Studio Code, VS Code. We can call it as a VS Code, which is developed by Microsoft for Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and web browser environment. Right? As we know, web development consists of both front end and back end. Front end technology is what we well known as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So far, we have seen learning sessions on HTML, brief of like in CSS. Now we are going to take a look at JavaScript part, right? So we have an introduction of JavaScript. Now we are going to look at how to write a scripts JavaScript. Okay, as my first JavaScript is what we're gonna cover today. Good. So any program that you develop, right, what you have to see is that can we test your development code as a standalone, as an integrated part? That is what I think one should have to understand. So standalone, when you say that, you need to get a 1 point. Okay, do you have like an environment set it up for testing the standalone JavaScript messages? Let's say console.log is a very well known message which redirecting your string onto console. Okay, in order you to run those kind of statements, your environment, your development environment should be installed with Node.js. For instance, Node.js is a runtime environment for JavaScript to run. How do you know that? So in IDE, if you look at, there is a terminal, right? During that, in the terminal, you go and actually type node hyphen version. So if it is already installed, it gives you like the installed version. In my case, I already installed Node.js, and hence v22.13.0 is what it is displays on screen. That means like this is a version that I have. Okay, if you have not installed, then what you would do is, right, you are going to go and check, latest version of Node.js and then install. Case if you have not installed Node.js yet, all you have to do is like go to the Google, you know and type Node.js download. It takes you to the landing page of download page of Node.js here. Okay, then you can see there is a Windows install.msi. You just double click and then it gets downloaded onto your download folder. Once you download it, just install it. It's straightforward. I have already done the video on how to install Node.js on your environment, then do like a basic testing. You feel free to refer as part of a software installation playlist. Okay, once you have installed it, and then from the VS Code, you can easily look that part like what I showed here. So if you want to actually go to the Node.js shell, all you have to do is like type node, then it goes to Node.js shell, where you can type basic commands like a console message, console.log, and let's say hello. Then when you execute this, it actually returns the string hello on console, right? So you all know that like why you actually use like a console messages, like a log messages, in order you to actually look at the flow of control of your program execution. You would actually add a bunch of log messages, right? Sometimes like it helps you to actually debug the code, inspect the code if something goes wrong, to narrow down the problematic area, and then after you have to fix it. That's an idea, right? In C++ and C, that you see like printf or cout statements, system.out.println in case of Java. Python you use like a print. Similarly in JavaScript you use console.log. That's kind of like help that you needed, right? So now we have seen you know uh, running the JavaScript messages using a node environment. Now what you would be doing is that you try develop a script, right? So I have a folder called JavaScript, where I would have wanted to create a new file, and then what is the name that I'm going to give? My first .js. Is that okay? Yeah, my first .js. Great. So this is done. Now what you would do, right? You add a statement called console.log hello may this bridge, let's say. So now I am going to save this one, right? How we are going to test this? You exit from this shell mode. Now what you do, like type you have to go to this particular path here. So website, right? So I go to root, then go to JavaScript. Okay, where you type like a node and then file name. Do you see me? Okay, great. So enter. Here you go. So same console message displayed on my console. Eureka! I am able to actually create my first JavaScript, and then I could execute the JavaScript using my standalone environment. Now let's look at HTML context, how you are going to execute the JavaScript, because ultimately that is what you needed as part of your web development. Okay, so I will close this part, then go back to your HTML code, right? So I create like a sample HTML page, but my intention is not to actually walk through with whatever the code that you written in HTML, but I would like to see like how you can actually integrate your JavaScript as part of HTML. Okay, let me first run index.html using my live server in VS Code. Great. So this is the page that I created. Okay, you can use like any page, that should be okay for our testing. Now what you have to do is that here. If you wanted, assuming that like you have web browser content showing like this, but if you would wanted to see like the actual source HTML source code for this page, what you would do, right click and then click an option called view page source. Okay, yeah, some allow you to actually see the content, some probably they might actually display it so you can't see it. That you can distinguish while you do like quick test of couple of web pages. In our cases, like I could actually see the source code of the content that whatever it displayed on the console. Okay, so that's the idea. Next thing, what is that if something goes wrong and then something is not you see on screen as you expected, then how do you inspect it, right? So one option that we have is like inspect here. So all you have to do is like right click on this page and go to inspect and click. It actually give you like debug window, your display, and then your all the terminals, header, footer, and all what sort of code that you have, things like that. It gives you all these perspectives so that you can walk through one by one and then you can fix it like that. So if you look at here, this is a body, right? This is HTML. I'll walk through it. So look at here. What happens is like if you have any issues in the code, it will display. Otherwise, this is a console. Some of the duplicate messages display that you can ignore them. But my basic intention here is, the web browser has an ability to understand the JavaScript, and then so in this mode you can also see how do you test a console messages, right? You can use here console, right? Console dot log hello, right? Hello. So maybe I can double quote them and then execute. Do you see whatever you tested on the standalone mode, you can also test it on web browser console in the inspect mode. So this is the one advantage that you can actually use this perspective to debug certain things if they are not functional as expected. Okay, great. So now I will go back actually and show you the actual magic. Okay, so if you look at here, in HTML we have three main sections, right? Root element is called HTML, within which you have a head section, body section, right? Within the body, I can add a tag called script for including JavaScripts. So let's assume like line number 22 I commented a script which I added previously, but let me show you now. Here it is, enabled that line. So script is a tag, starting of the tag, ending of the tag, right? As part of the starting tag, I added an attribute called src, which is of my path, JavaScript, my first.js path. So that means like I integrated. So HTML is now integrated with your script. As soon as you HTML gets loaded on the web browser, it also executes the script. If it executes the script, what is the content of the script we have is console message. So you should see that console message when you inspect that web page. That's a test that we are going to do. Okay, so what I would be doing now is like I will relaunch this page again using my live server, and I will inspect the code now. Okay, when I inspect the code, do you see now here, because the page gets loaded, it invokes the JavaScript, because the JavaScript name called my first.js. Line number 1 has a console message, which is what I can see in my console part of this section. Great. So do you understand now? So writing a JavaScript and then testing in standalone, integrating into your HTML, part of HTML code is something like this, and then gets loaded onto the web browser. Then inspect the browser code and then see whether console message gets printed on, your browser console. So this is what I think I would like to cover you. So by having said that, in two ways you can actually develop the JavaScript and then test your learning functionalities. Also, as part of development, you can actually do much more than what we discussed. This is a good start for you to start writing a JavaScript programs. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, click on bell icon and leave the comments. Happy learning. Thank you. Stay tuned to upcoming sessions.